My name is Lorraine Lemaire. I was born in Newport, Rhode Island on April 19th, 1933. My parents' name was, my father was William Ferreira, and my father was born in Newport, Rhode Island. My dad was a truck driver. He moved furniture and stuff like that. And my mother was Diamantina Ferreira. My mother was born in the Azores, Portugal. My mother came here in 1912 on a boat with her mom and dad and 5 children, and my grandmother was expecting the 6th. And my mother was a seamstress and a homemaker. She did a lot of Portuguese cooking, no matter what she was brought up. And her soups were always special, her Portuguese soup, and she especially loved desserts. I have one brother, William, and one sister, Victoria Davidson. Both are deceased. Well, my brother left Rhode Island when he was about 17 and went into the service. He was in the Air Force, and he stayed there for the 20-year tour, and then he went to, ended up in California where he lived till he died. Well, it wasn't that great, I guess, but it wasn't bad. It was just normal. Kids were different then, you know. You worked early, and I used to scrub my grandma's floor for the whole house she lived next door to us, for 10 cents, and thought that was great, you know. But things were tough for all of them. I can remember as a kid when we lived on Sheffield Avenue, we lived across the street from a laboratory. I don't know what they made there, but I can remember, I think it was around World War I had started, and this was probably 1941, 41, something like that. And there was a guard next door, Mr. Regan, and I used to walk along his route with him at night, in the early evening. And I thought I was such a big deal that I was walking with the guard with the gun on his shoulder, you know. It's Rogers High School in Newport, Rhode Island. I didn't go to college. I took some specialty classes in sewing techniques because I ended up teaching sewing. Not in school or anything, my own business. Del Ross was his last name. I don't know the first name, I forgot. But I think I was about 14 then. I think probably, it probably was the Del Ross boy. In 1952, I met him at my house. He was laying on the couch when I got up in the morning, and he looked at me and said, "Who the hell are you?" And I said, "What do you mean, who the hell are you? I live here." Come to find out, he was in the Navy at that time, and my mother was renting a room to a Navy couple. And they were not taken, they had to go to the boat by other little boats. And the weather was so bad they couldn't let him, so Paul let Jay sleep on the couch. My mother let him too. And when I came down, and we dated for about 6 weeks or so, and after that we got married. I was married 59 years, November 29th. In Jesus Savior Church in Newport, Rhode Island, November 29th, 1952. I had my cousin got married the week before, and because I wanted to get married, I decided to pick my mother's birthday as a day to get married, so that was the 29th of November. So I got married a week after my cousin. And my mother and father were not really together then too much. He was at the wedding, and he gave me away. And then, so we just had a dinner at home with relatives. You know, it was not a big deal wedding. My aunts made my gown, and it was a wedding we could afford at the time. I have 4 children. Robin is the oldest. She's 58 years old. My son Michael is next. He's going to be 56. My son Tom is oh my goodness, 54. And Jeffrey is my baby, he's 50. The boys were a handful, the daughter was also. They were very adventurous kids. My boys especially loved anything to do with the water. They would be out there sailing and scuba diving and doing all this stuff. My oldest son went to, Michael went to school in Norway on a Norwegian school ship when he was in the 10th grade. And my other son, Tom, sailed to England with another couple. And Jeffrey, he did a lot of sailing around, but he didn't go on any big voyages. He did go to England with us. And Robin, too, was quite adventurous. She took off and hitchhiked to California at one point. Well, I stayed at home when the children were little, and I did a lot of volunteer work in the school, you know, room mothers and so forth, stuff like that, putting on fashion shows to raise money for the school. After that, I started doing alterations at home and sewing, and a lot of people started asking me questions and things, so the next thing I know, I went out and bought 5 sewing machines and put them in the living room and front porch and set up some tables, and I started my sewing classes. And they went over very good. Within a week, I had 20 students. So then after about a year or so, I expanded and bought a fabric shop and went in business in the fabric shop, and I taught lessons there. That was in the new mall that they built in Newport. And then in 1978, I was looking for a job for my daughter, and I saw an ad in the paper that Hodges Badge Company wanted someone that knew how to run sewing machines to be a supervisor. So I made a phone call, and I started working very next day there as a supervisor, and worked there for 20 years. 10 of the years were there in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, where the factory was, and then they shipped me to Washington, Missouri, where we opened a new plant, a factory, and we had about 50 people working there, and I managed the whole place. And Jay came along as my maintenance supervisor. And we lived there till 6 years ago. It's been very nice. It hasn't been, I've worked very, very hard. And it's been very adventurous. We were very much involved with boating, and we used to love to see the single-handed sailors that crossed the ocean come into Newport, and we'd be out there in the middle of the night greeting them in and bringing them home most of the time so they could sleep in the bed. And our life was really involved with the water for most of the kids' young life. And they were like water. They just lived on the water. I worked as a volunteer at the hospital, both in Washington, Missouri, and here in Sherwood at St. Vincent's. First television was in Newport, Rhode Island. I was going out with a Marine named Perry Como, but it wasn't Perry Como. And he took me over to the Marine base, and we watched a movie there, and Milton Berle was on. And it was one of, and then after that, the next television I saw was, after I got married, I went to my mother-in-law's house, and she had a 4-inch black and white screen television. And that was the beginning of my television days. My first plane ride, I was going to a class in Florida for to do some specialized sewing techniques and sewing knits and things. And I got on the plane in a snowstorm, and that plane shot straight up in the air. I thought I would die in an instant, you know. But after that, I've been on the planes before, and they've been fine. Well, I didn't drive till I was 21. My mother always said, if you want to drive, you drive your husband's car. So that's probably why I got married. I don't know, you know. But anyway, we had, Jay's uncle gave us a 1930 '8 LaSalle, which is like a Cadillac. It was a big bomber of a thing. Ran 4 miles to a gallon, I think, was what we got. But gas was like 7 gallons for $1 then. It was cheaper, so it wasn't too bad. Jay won the lottery. My daughter won the lottery. Jay's was back in 1975. $300 a month for life. You could screw that up. But I opened a fabric store and we kind of cashed it in. And well, I really don't know what kind of legacy I'd like to leave. I've had the friends that I have had. I've been friends for life, and I still correspond with them, even though I haven't seen them for 20, 30, 40 years. No, I just hope that my kids enjoy this and that they will just remember that they've got to respect their own selves to be respected by others, and just keep doing the good. I have very generous kids. Robin is coming to live with me in 3 or 4 months to help take care of us. My oldest daughter, she's leaving California, and the boys are out there, and they all have their. I'm proud of them all.